Stop whining. Stop blaming. Stop waiting for life to be fair. Right now, someone, somewhere, is facing a crisis far bigger than yours, and they are still moving forward. Every complaint you make is wasted energy, every excuse a chain holding you back. This audiobook isn't about feel-good advice. It's about a simple truth. Life will always throw worse at you, and your only choice is to rise, adapt, and use it to build unshakable strength. By the time you finish this, you'll never look at setbacks the same way again. Are you ready to stop whining and start winning? Chapter 1. Accept reality, stop whining. Life is not fair. If you're waiting for life to hand you comfort, ease, or validation, you are setting yourself up for constant disappointment. Setbacks, failures, and challenges are not exceptions. They are the default. The real question is not why life is hard, but how you respond to it. Complaining, whining, and blaming others is a choice. Accepting reality is power. The ancient Stoics understood this better than anyone. Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor, wrote in Meditations, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." It's not about changing the world, it's about changing yourself. Complaining is an attempt to control what is uncontrollable. Accepting reality is the discipline that makes you unstoppable. Think of Olympic athletes. Every gold medalist has failed countless times. Michael Phelps didn't swim his first world record. He drowned in disappointment, missed races, and trained through pain. Simone Biles didn't become the best by expecting life to be easy. She confronted her limitations daily and accepted them. This is the lesson. Complaining is a luxury reserved for those unwilling to grow. You don't have that luxury if you want success. Acceptance is strategic. Epictetus said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." The first step toward mastering life is acknowledging that reality is brutal, indifferent, and impartial. The second step is deciding what you will do about it. Here's the trap most people fall into. They confuse acceptance with resignation. They say, "Life is unfair, so I give up." Not so. Acceptance is not surrender, it's clarity. When you accept reality, you see the battlefield clearly. You identify your resources, your obstacles, and your next moves. Complaining is fog, acceptance is vision. Daily habit number 1, the morning reality check. Each morning, write down 3 facts about your life that are uncomfortable or challenging. Example, I don't have the promotion I want, or I failed that exam. Follow it with 3 actions you can take today to improve your situation. This habit conditions your mind to face reality without complaint. You acknowledge, then act. Consider the words of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. How wonderful is the affair of the believer, for his affairs are all good, and this applies to no one but the believer. If something good happens to him, he is grateful, and that is good for him. If something bad happens to him, he bears it patiently, and that is good for him. It's easy to be grateful when life is easy. It's harder to see good in adversity. Yet this is the cornerstone of resilience. Complaining is optional, resilience is essential. What we need is not more comfort, but more courage. Not only do you face the unfairness of life, but you also build the mental muscles that others refuse to exercise. Seneca wrote, "Difficulties strengthen the mind, as labor does the body." The more you accept reality, the more your mind adapts to life's inherent chaos. Daily habit number 2, the evening reflection. At night, review your day and identify one moment where you felt frustrated, angry, or wanted to complain. Ask yourself, could I have accepted the situation and acted instead? How? Write down the lesson learned in 1 sentence. This habit rewires your brain to associate challenges with opportunity rather than grievance. Real-world example. James Clear, author of Atomic Habits, notes that top performers embrace identity-based habits rather than outcome-based habits. The mindset of "I am someone who accepts reality and acts" is more powerful than "I want life to be fair." The focus shifts from external conditions to internal control, a shift that separates the weak from the extraordinary. Daily habit number 3, the complaint interruption. Each time you feel a complaint rising, pause and replace it with a question. What is within my control right now? Apply immediate action, even if it's small. This trains your brain to convert frustration into forward motion. Think of Sun Tzu's advice in The Art of War. Victorious warriors win first and then go to war, while defeated warriors go to war first and then seek to win. Complaining is the defeated warrior. Accepting reality and preparing your response is the victorious warrior. It's not about wishing life were different. It's about winning where you stand. It's easy to say, life is unfair, but harder to face the truth. Every setback is an invitation to mastery. Reality provides data. Data informs strategy. Strategy produces results. Complaints produce nothing. Don't just take my word for it. Look at Michael Jordan. Cut from his high school team. The world could have broken him. Instead, he accepted reality, trained harder, and became the greatest. Look at Malala Yousafzai. Shot by the Taliban, faced unimaginable adversity. Yet her acceptance of reality, combined with decisive action, made her a global voice for education. Daily habit number 4, reality journaling. Each week, write down one major life event that challenges you, analyze it objectively. What is true? What is not? What action can I take? Close with a declaration. I accept this as reality. My next step is. Over time, this builds a mind that sees clearly, acts decisively, and refuses to be derailed by complaints. Here's the final reinforcement. Life is inherently unfair. Complaining is a choice. Acceptance is strength. Far from resignation. This mindset transforms adversity into opportunity. Whether it's small daily irritations or life-altering events, the principle is the same. Confront reality, act decisively, repeat. By now, you've seen the pattern. Complaining is weakness, acceptance is power, action is inevitable. You've glimpsed the strategy that the world's greatest performers use every day. You mastered the first, and perhaps the hardest, hurdle, accepting reality. Now, the next step is equally critical. Your mind is constantly comparing, judging, and envying. To strengthen your inner fortress, you must conquer that next battlefield. Chapter 2. Compare less, strengthen more. The moment you start comparing yourself to others, you hand over your power. Whether it's a coworker, a celebrity, a social media influencer, or a childhood friend, comparison is the silent thief of your strength. It's not just a minor distraction. It is a habit that slowly undermines your confidence, focus, and ability to act. The real question is not why you feel inferior, but why you allow yourself to measure your journey against someone else's highlight reel. Far from being harmless, comparison fuels envy, anxiety, and procrastination. You might think looking at successful people will motivate you, but in reality, it often does the opposite. It creates a sense of lack. I'm not enough. I haven't achieved as much. The more important issue is that comparison is a distraction from the only person who matters, the you of today. Marcus Aurelius reminds us in Meditations, if someone is able to show me that what I think or do is not right, I will happily change, for I seek the truth by which no one was ever truly harmed. Notice the distinction. Marcus does not measure himself against others. He measures himself against truth and principle. That's the discipline you must cultivate. Comparison is external. Truth is internal. Success and growth are measured by your own actions, your own effort, and your own discipline. Daily habit number 1, the comparison audit. Each day, notice one moment you compared yourself to another person. Write down, what was the thought? How did it make you feel? Was this productive? Reframe. Ask, how can I use this as inspiration or data rather than judgment? This habit rewires your mind to shift from envy to curiosity, from weakness to strategy. Let's examine real-world examples. Many successful millionaires, entrepreneurs, and creatives fail silently for years. Consider J.K. Rowling, rejected by multiple publishers before Harry Potter became a global phenomenon. Compare her journey to someone obsessed with other people's success, constantly scrolling social media, feeling defeated, and never taking the next step. Not because others succeed is it easy for you. Because they succeed, you have proof that it can be done if you act. It's not that comparison itself is evil, it's that it's misused. Comparison can be a teacher if you approach it strategically. Just as a general studies the battlefield to understand the enemy, you can study others' achievements to extract lessons, not excuses. Sun Tzu wrote in The Art of War, "If you know the enemy and know yourself, you need not fear the result of 100 battles. Replace enemy with competitor or peer and you see the point." Knowledge is power. Envy is weakness. Daily habit number 2, constructive benchmarking. Choose one person whose skill, results, or discipline you admire. Identify one specific action or habit that contributed to their success. Apply it to your life, in your context, immediately. This shifts comparison from judgment to strategy, transforming a potential weakness into a strength multiplier. Rumi once wrote, "Do not be satisfied with the stories that come before you. Unfold your own myth." You cannot create your story if you're busy living in someone else's. It's easy to say, "I want to be successful," but harder to stay in your lane, focus on your craft, and resist the temptation to measure your worth against someone else's highlights. Not only does comparison weaken you psychologically, but it also consumes energy that should be spent building skills, taking action, and improving results. This is about more than self-esteem, it's about output. As James Clear emphasizes in Atomic Habits, you do not rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your systems. Stop measuring yourself against others' outcomes. Focus on your own system, your own consistency, and your own discipline. That is where true growth lies. Daily habit number 3, the social media fast. Schedule 1 hour a day, or even 1 day a week, without social media scrolling. Observe how you feel when you are not measuring yourself against curated content. Replace that time with focused work, learning, or reflection. No one can deny that social media exposes you to inspiring content, but what's often overlooked is that it also amplifies envy and erodes focus. Strengthening yourself requires intentional absence as much as intentional action. Consider how Samina Beg, the mountaineer from Pakistan, conquered some of the world's highest peaks despite limited resources, harsh conditions, and countless societal barriers. Showing that determination, not circumstance, defines how high a person can rise. You don't need someone else's life to measure your worth. You need focus, resilience, and discipline. Daily habit number 4, daily self-reflection question. Every evening, ask, what did I accomplish today that is mine alone? What progress did I make that no one else can take away? Write it down in a journal. This anchors your sense of value internally, reducing the psychological pull of comparison. Remember, comparison is a trap, but it can be transformed into a tool. This requires conscious effort. It's not about envying others. It's about learning, adapting, and measuring progress against your own potential. Not only will this build mental toughness, but it also increases creativity. When you stop measuring yourself externally, your mind opens to experimentation, growth, and original thinking. Daily habit number 5, weekly benchmark reflection. Once a week, review your accomplishments objectively. Compare not to others, but to your own prior performance. Celebrate improvements, identify gaps, and plan next steps. This trains your brain to compete with your past self rather than other people. It's the key to long-term satisfaction and relentless growth. Albert Ellis, the founder of Rational Emotive Behavior Therapy, reminds us, the best years of your life are the ones in which you decide your problems are your own. You do not blame them on your mother, the ecology, or the president. You realize that you control your destiny. Comparison is precisely the opposite. You are blaming others for your perceived shortcomings. Accept responsibility. Strengthen yourself. Daily habit number 6, morning affirmation. Each morning, say, I am not defined by others' success. My growth is measured by my effort, discipline, and results. Repeat this aloud. Make it a non-negotiable ritual. Affirmations are simple, but repetition rewires your mental circuitry towards self-reliance. It's easy to fall into envy, but harder to cultivate an internal benchmark. It's not about disliking or ignoring success around you. It's about transforming every glance outward into fuel for personal improvement. This discipline connects you to a sense of self that is resilient, focused, and unstoppable. You might think that comparing yourself is inevitable in a competitive world, but in reality, the strongest people have mastered it. They benchmark, they learn, and they act, without losing themselves in the process. Whether you like it or not, your success depends less on what others do and more on how you respond to your own journey. You have now learned the discipline of focusing inward and using comparison strategically rather than destructively. You have laid the foundation for your mental strength to grow. Chapter 3. Pain is a teacher, not a punisher. Pain is inevitable. Setbacks, failures, and discomfort are not accidents. They are the natural byproducts of growth. The real question is not why does pain exist, but how will you respond to it? Far from being a curse, every moment of suffering carries with it a lesson, if you have the courage to extract it. The strongest people do not avoid pain. They study it, dissect it, and use it as fuel. It's easy to say, pain is just part of life, but harder to embrace it as an instrument for improvement. This is about more than enduring hardship. It's about transforming adversity into insight and strength. Thomas Edison, the man who gave the world the electric light, failed over 1,000 times before inventing a working bulb. When asked about these failures, he said, "I have not failed. I've just found 1,000 ways that won't work." Notice his mindset. He did not complain. He did not feel victimized. Each failure was a lesson, an experiment, a step closer to mastery. Not only did he persevere, but he also deliberately analyzed every error, extracted its wisdom, and applied it. Daily habit number 1, Failure Analysis Journal. Each day, record one failure, mistake, or setback. Ask, what went wrong? What can I control? What can I learn? Write down one action to improve tomorrow. This habit forces you to stop passivity and start reflection, turning pain into proactive growth. It's not that pain is enjoyable. It isn't, but it is instructive. Epictetus wrote in Enchiridion, "Difficulties show men what they are." The more important issue is that avoidance of discomfort does not build character, resilience, or capability. Pain is a mirror. It reflects your weaknesses and offers an opportunity to strengthen them. Consider modern athletes like David Goggins, whose life is a testament to embracing extreme discomfort. Goggins ran ultramarathons, broke world records, and endured Navy SEAL Hell Week, not because he enjoyed the suffering, but because he recognized that pain was the crucible for extraordinary mental strength. As he explains in Can't Hurt Me, we don't rise to the level of our expectations, we fall to the level of our discipline. Pain is a teacher of discipline, endurance, and focus. Complaining is optional. Growth is mandatory if you want to excel. Daily habit number 2, the discomfort challenge. Identify one uncomfortable activity each day, cold shower, early workout, difficult conversation. Push through intentionally, noting your emotional and mental response. Reflect. How did embracing discomfort make you stronger? This practice trains your mind to see hardship as a signal, not a stop sign. Far from being punishment, pain is feedback. It's easy to interpret failure as a judgment against your worth, but in reality, it is data. Every error tells you where systems failed, where preparation fell short, or where knowledge was missing. The more you extract these lessons, the faster your improvement. Just as a scientist refines experiments, you refine your life through trial, error, and analysis. Daily habit number 3, weekly pain debrief. Each week, review all challenges, mistakes, and setbacks you faced. Ask, what patterns emerge? Which recurring behaviors or decisions led to failure? Plan corrective actions for the following week. Over time, this builds a mindset that no problem is wasted, no setback is permanent, and every difficulty is a stepping stone. No one can deny that pain is unpleasant, but what's often overlooked is that avoidance of pain is the true handicap. As Seneca wrote in On Providence, "Fire tests gold, adversity tests men." Whether you like it or not, your strength is forged in moments of difficulty. The question is, will you hide from it, or will you learn from it? It's easy to misinterpret setbacks as the end, but this isn't the end. It's the beginning of transformation. Far from being random cruelty, life's challenges are structured lessons for those willing to pay attention. Albert Ellis, the psychologist, emphasized, we cannot change reality, but we can change our thinking about it. This principle is crucial. Pain itself is neutral. Your interpretation and response determine whether it becomes punishment or mentorship. Daily habit number 4, immediate lesson extraction. After any setback, spend 10 minutes reflecting. Ask, what did this teach me? How can I apply it today? Write one actionable step to correct or improve. This turns passive suffering into active growth and ensures that pain is always productive. Religious and philosophical traditions echo this principle. The Quran states, "Indeed, with hardship comes ease." Surah Ash-Shar 94:6. The Bible reminds us in James 1 verses 2-4, "Consider it pure joy, my brothers and sisters, whenever you face trials of many kinds, because you know that the testing of your faith produces perseverance." Notice the pattern. Adversity is not punishment, it is education. It cultivates resilience, wisdom, and character. The strongest people in history, whether religious, philosophical, or modern, have embraced this truth. Daily habit number 5, morning pain visualization. Spend 5 minutes each morning imagining a potential challenge you might face that day. Visualize yourself responding calmly, learning from it, and acting decisively. Conclude. This challenge is a teacher. I will learn and grow today. This habit primes your mind to interpret discomfort as opportunity rather than threat. Don't just take my word for it. Look at historical figures like Abraham Lincoln, who endured repeated political failures, personal loss, and public ridicule. Each setback became a lesson, not a reason to quit. The discipline he cultivated through hardship enabled him to become one of the most impactful leaders in history. Daily habit number 6, end-of-day reflection. Each evening, identify one painful or challenging moment from the day. Ask, how did it teach me something about my choices, my patience, or my strategy? Affirm, I am learning. I am growing. I am stronger than yesterday. This reinforces the daily transformation of pain into power. Remember, pain is not a signal to stop, it is a guide to improve. It is not punishment, it is instruction. Just as metal is tempered in fire, your mind, discipline, and resilience are strengthened through struggle. It's not that life is cruel, it's that life is teaching. The more you internalize this, the faster you grow. You have now learned the discipline of reframing setbacks as lessons. You have practiced daily habits to convert every hardship into actionable insight. The foundation of your strength is forming. Chapter 4. Complaining is a disease. Cure yourself. Complaining is contagious. One grumble, one sigh, one whispered complaint can infect your mind, your energy, and even your environment. Far from being harmless, constant whining rewires your brain for weakness. It teaches your mind to focus on obstacles instead of opportunities. It encourages passivity instead of action. Not because the world is against you, but because your focus is misaligned. Complaining is a disease, and like any disease, it can spread, fester, and ultimately stunt your growth. The real question is not whether life is unfair. It always will be. The real question is whether you will feed the habit of complaint or develop the discipline of control. Marcus Aurelius reminds us in Meditations, if you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it, and this you have the power to revoke at any moment. It's not that the external world is soft or kind, it's that your response has the power to make you strong or weak. Complaining is the automatic, lazy choice. Conscious action is the path to strength. Consider the corporate world. Those who constantly complain about bosses, policies, or colleagues often stagnate. Their energy is drained by negative thoughts, their focus scattered by grievances. Meanwhile, silent problem solvers, people who notice a challenge, ask a constructive question, and take action, rise to leadership positions. Far from being unfair, this demonstrates the natural law of outcomes. Energy invested in complaints is energy stolen from growth. The more important issue is not the injustice itself, but how you respond. Daily habit number 1, complaint interception. Each time you notice a complaint arising, pause immediately, replace the complaint with a question. What can I control here? What action is possible? Write down one small step you can take to improve the situation. This habit retrains your brain to stop defaulting to negativity and start defaulting to empowerment. It's easy to say, "I can't help it, life is frustrating," but harder to confront the truth. Complaining is a choice, not a reflex. Every complaint strengthens neural pathways for negativity and passivity. Not only does this make challenges harder to overcome, but it also distorts your perception of reality. Over time, a mind accustomed to complaint sees obstacles as insurmountable and opportunities as scarce. Don't just take my word for it. Look at research in behavioral psychology. Albert Ellis, the founder of rational emotive behavior therapy, emphasized that our beliefs about events, not the events themselves, determine our emotional state. Repeatedly complaining reinforces irrational beliefs. I am powerless. Nothing changes. This mindset erodes resilience. The antidote is deliberate, disciplined reframing. Daily habit number 2, complaint log. Keep a small notebook or digital note to track every complaint you notice yourself making. For each complaint, write a constructive reframing. Example, I hate traffic. Traffic is outside my control. I can use this time to listen to an audiobook or plan my day. Review weekly to measure progress. This habit turns passive whining into proactive self-management. Not because life is fair, but because your mind is powerful, you have the ability to shift focus. The Bible notes in Philippians 4 verse 8. Finally, brothers and sisters, whatever is true, whatever is noble, whatever is right, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is admirable, if anything is excellent or praiseworthy, think about such things. Complaining is the opposite of this practice. It focuses on the negative, amplifies perceived injustice, and suppresses problem-solving. Discipline, on the other hand, directs attention to action and opportunity. Daily habit number 3, action over complaint. When faced with a frustrating situation, ask, what specific action can I take? Act immediately, even in small ways. Reflect on results at the end of the day. This reinforces the principle that problems are solved through action, not through grumbling. Far from being a minor habit, complaint has cascading consequences. Neuroscientist Robert Sapolsky notes that negative, repetitive thought patterns increase stress hormones like cortisol, impair decision-making, and reduce resilience. On the other hand, actively reframing challenges and focusing on solutions strengthens cognitive flexibility and emotional regulation. This is about more than feeling better. It's about becoming a more capable, effective human being. Daily habit number 4, gratitude counter. For every complaint intercepted, write down one thing in the situation to be grateful for or one positive takeaway. Example, I hate waiting in line. I have time to think, plan, or breathe. Review these weekly to rewire your mind for constructive focus. Not only does this reduce complaining, but it also builds a mental framework oriented toward growth and opportunity. You might think that venting to friends or colleagues relieves stress, but in reality, it often amplifies negativity. Just as repeated negative conversations reinforce pessimism, repeated positive reframing reinforces resilience. The practice is simple. Replace each complaint with a constructive question. This keeps your mind sharp, focused, and solution-oriented. Daily habit number 5, weekly reflection on progress. At the end of each week, review all the complaints you intercepted and reframed. Assess, did your energy improve? Did your decisions become clearer? Commit to maintaining or increasing your progress. Over time, this transforms complaining from a reflexive habit into a conscious, manageable pattern. Seneca wrote in On Anger, "No man is crushed by misfortune unless he has first been deceived by prosperity." Complaining is a form of self-deception, a belief that external conditions control your well-being. The truth is, your discipline, your mental framing, and your action define your outcomes. Every complaint avoided is a step toward mastery. Daily habit number 6, daily mind reset. Before bed, review moments in the day when complaints arose, mentally replay the situation, substituting the complaint with a constructive question or action. Affirm, I am responsible for my mind. I choose focus, not complaint. This nightly reset ensures the habit is reinforced and the brain is trained toward empowerment, not passivity. Just as a disease left untreated spreads, complaining left unchecked corrodes mental strength. It reduces initiative, blunts focus, and clouds judgment. Far from being a minor flaw, it undermines your ability to act decisively in life's most critical moments. Whether you like it or not, your level of success is proportional to your ability to maintain mental clarity and focus, especially under discomfort. Daily habit number 7, real-time awareness. Throughout the day, practice mindfulness of your inner dialogue. Each time a complaint arises, pause, breathe, and consciously reframe. Action is the cure. Repetition solidifies the neural pathways for discipline. It's easy to think complaining is natural, but harder to realize that it is optional. Not only can you stop, but actively doing so transforms every situation into an opportunity for growth. Don't wait for external change. Change the way you interpret and respond to reality. That is the cure, and it is entirely within your control. You now understand the core principle. Complaining is a disease, but discipline is the cure. You have been given concrete tools: interception, reframing, journaling, and reflection to neutralize this habit and convert energy into growth. Chapter 5. Build mental immunity through perspective. Perspective is more than a mental trick. It is the ultimate strength multiplier. The real question is not why are things hard, but how do I see them? Far from being a minor skill, perspective determines whether a setback crushes you or propels you forward. It shapes how you respond to pain, disappointment, and life's constant challenges. The lens through which you view your experiences will dictate the strength of your mind, the clarity of your decisions, and the trajectory of your life. It's easy to say, keep things in perspective, but harder to apply it under pressure. Not because perspective is unavailable, but because it is a disciplined choice. Just as a general surveys the battlefield to understand the terrain before acting, you must constantly evaluate your life's context to see opportunity amidst chaos. Consider how Rosa Parks stood alone against an openly racist system, refusing to surrender her dignity, an act of courage that sparked a movement and reshaped history. Remember the unimaginable hardships endured by the survivors of the Gaza genocide, and how they still rose above challenges that would have broken most people. Frankl realized that perspective is power. What might have destroyed his spirit instead became the foundation of insight, purpose, and resilience. Far from being victims, those who master perspective transform suffering into strength. Daily habit number 1, morning gratitude perspective. Each morning, list 3 things you are grateful for, focusing on aspects of life that you often take for granted. Example: health, supportive relationships, shelter, opportunities to learn. Ask, does this minor problem matter in the context of these larger blessings? This habit trains your mind to calibrate the scale of challenges, reducing the weight of daily irritations. The more important issue is that perspective shapes meaning. Trauma, failure, and difficulty are neutral. Their interpretation creates either growth or despair. As Epictetus said in Discourses, men are disturbed not by things, but by the views which they take of them. The events themselves do not define your life. Your interpretation of them does. It's not that suffering disappears, it's that suffering can be harnessed. Real-world example. Remember how Martin Luther King Jr. confronted the most powerful forces of his time and still pressed forward with unwavering conviction until the justice he envisioned became reality. You might think perspective is abstract, but in reality, it is actionable strategy. Daily habit number 2, evening reframe reflection. Each evening, identify one negative or challenging event from the day. Reframe it. What can I learn from this? How might this be beneficial or instructive in the long term? Write down a brief insight or action step. Over time, this trains your brain to automatically search for constructive meaning in adversity. Not only does perspective protect mental health, but it also accelerates decision-making. Cognitive scientist Daniel Kahneman emphasizes that our judgments are often distorted by short-term emotions. By cultivating perspective, you distance yourself from immediate emotional reactions and gain clarity. It's not about ignoring pain, it's about enlarging your context. Consider disaster survivors, people who lose homes, livelihoods, or loved ones in natural disasters. Those who thrive and not those who pretend the tragedy didn't happen. They are the ones who integrate the reality into a broader framework. They see today's problems as tomorrow's stories, future lessons that build resilience, wisdom, and gratitude. Daily habit number 3, weekly perspective audit. Once a week, review major challenges you face. Ask, how might this event look in 1 month, 1 year, or 10 years? What lesson will I extract? Journal your reflections, noting patterns and progress. This habit develops what modern psychologists call temporal perspective, the ability to weigh events over long-term horizons rather than reacting impulsively. Religious traditions emphasize this principle. The Quran states, "So verily, with every difficulty, there is relief." Surah Ash-Shah 94:6. Similarly, the Bible instructs in Romans 8 verse 28. And we know that in all things God works for the good of those who love Him, who have been called according to His purpose. Both highlight the transformative power of perspective. Every hardship contains a hidden advantage if recognized. Perspective is not only for extreme circumstances. Daily frustrations, traffic, criticism, mistakes can either weaken or strengthen you. Far from being trivial, small perspective shifts compound over time. If every minor challenge is viewed as insurmountable, your mind develops a scarcity mindset. If each challenge is seen as data and training, your mind develops abundance, confidence, and resilience. Daily habit number 4, micro-challenge reframing. During small inconveniences, missed appointments, delays, conflicts, pause and ask, how will this matter in a week, month, or year? What can I learn? Note one insight or adjustment. This builds mental immunity against stress and increases long-term emotional stability. Seneca observed in Letters from a Stoic, "It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more, that is poor." Perspective helps you realize that scarcity and abundance are largely mental constructs. Complaining about what you lack diminishes your strength. Appreciating what you have, in context, multiplies your energy and focus. You might think perspective is innate, but in reality, it is a skill cultivated through conscious habit. Whether it's gratitude reflection, reframing setbacks, or considering long-term meaning, each practice strengthens your mental immune system. The stronger your perspective, the less vulnerable you are to complaint, envy, or despair. Daily habit number 5, daily perspective mantra. Begin each day by affirming, today's challenges are lessons. Today's pain is training. Today's setbacks are stories for tomorrow. Repeat aloud to anchor your mind in resilience and context. This simple mental framing primes your brain to interpret events productively rather than reactively. You have now learned the discipline of perspective. You understand that strength is not determined by what happens to you, but by how you interpret, integrate, and act upon it. Daily habits, gratitude, reflection, and reframing convert ordinary perception into extraordinary resilience. Your mind becomes immune to the petty anxieties and reactive fears that cripple most people. Chapter 7. Train your mind like a warrior. Mental toughness is not an innate trait. It is a skill meticulously honed through discipline, action, and deliberate exposure to discomfort. The real question is not whether life will challenge you. It will, relentlessly. The real question is whether your mind is prepared to endure, adapt, and emerge stronger. Mental resilience is accessible to anyone who commits to daily practice, conscious discomfort, and consistent reflection. Whether you like it or not, the quality of your life is proportional to the strength of your mind. It's easy to say, I just can't handle this, but harder to confront the truth. No one is born impervious to difficulty. Not because toughness is optional, but because discipline must be trained. Complaining less, acting more, and enduring longer are not abstract concepts. They are the measurable skills that separate those who collapse under pressure from those who excel despite it. Consider the training of Navy SEALs. From grueling hell weeks to underwater endurance exercises, candidates face extreme physical and mental stress deliberately. The goal is not punishment, it is transformation. Just as muscles grow stronger under resistance, the mind strengthens when pushed beyond its comfort zone. David Goggins, a former Navy SEAL and ultra-endurance athlete, emphasizes in can't hurt me. We don't rise to the level of our expectations. We fall to the level of our training. Notice the principle: preparation, not motivation, determines endurance. Complaints fade when action and discipline become automatic. Daily habit number 1, micro-challenges. Identify one small challenge each day that pushes your comfort boundary: cold showers, an extra mile of running, focused work without distraction. Commit fully, completing it without excuses. Reflect afterward: I endured this challenge and strengthened my mind. This habit trains your brain to accept discomfort as a tool for growth rather than a trigger for complaint. It's not that life's obstacles disappear, they remain. It's that your capacity to withstand them grows. Marcus Aurelius wrote in Meditations, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." The more important issue is not the obstacle itself, but how you respond. A warrior's mind converts every barrier into an opportunity to grow, not a reason to complain. Real-world example: Olympic athletes endure repeated injury, fatigue, and early morning training sessions. They could complain endlessly, yet their focus remains on adaptation, discipline, and incremental progress. Far from being effortless, this requires deliberate mental training and consistent self-reflection. Daily habit number 2, endurance journaling. Each evening, record a moment of discomfort or challenge faced today. Reflect: did you complain, avoid, or push through? Note one specific adjustment to improve tomorrow. This habit enhances awareness of mental limits and expands them systematically over time. Training the mind also rewires your brain for proactive behavior. Neuroplasticity research demonstrates that repeated exposure to controlled stress strengthens the prefrontal cortex, improving focus, emotional regulation, and impulse control. Far from being abstract, mental toughness is measurable and trainable. Each small daily challenge increases resilience and reduces automatic complaint responses. Daily habit number 3, one more rep principle. During any activity, work, exercise, or personal growth, push one step beyond perceived limits. Examples: one extra push-up, one additional paragraph written, one more minute in discomfort. Affirm: strength grows at the edge of discomfort. Incremental, deliberate pushing expands both physical and mental endurance over time. It's easy to assume that mental toughness requires extraordinary circumstances, but in reality, consistent small challenges compound into extraordinary resilience. Sun Tzu wrote in The Art of War, "Opportunities multiply as they are seized." Each micro-challenge is an opportunity to grow. Complaints are neutralized because your energy is redirected into deliberate action rather than idle rumination. Not because suffering is inherently good, but because mastery requires control, you must deliberately embrace discomfort. Epictetus, in Discourses, reminds us, difficulties are things that show a person what they are. Training the mind like a warrior is not about avoiding difficulty, it is about controlling your response, sustaining effort, and thriving amid inevitable challenges. Daily habit number 4, controlled exposure. Weekly, select a mental or physical challenge: public speaking, fasting, cold exposure, or focus problem solving under pressure. Commit fully, without complaint, for a set duration. Reflect on lessons learned and improvements in tolerance. This habit strengthens resilience, focus, and the capacity to endure discomfort without giving energy to frustration. You might think mental toughness is only needed in extraordinary moments, but in reality, it is forged in daily choices. Complaints are instinctive. Action is deliberate. Endurance is a skill developed through repeated, intentional exposure to challenge. Far from being theoretical, every micro-challenge strengthens neural pathways for resilience, decision-making, and confidence. Real-world example: SEAL instructor Mark Devine emphasizes, suffering is optional, growth is not. SEAL candidates face situations designed to trigger instinctive panic and complaint. Only by consciously choosing disciplined action over whining do they develop the mental capacity to operate under extreme stress. This principle applies to daily life. Micro-challenges build macro-strength. Daily habit number 5, mental push daily. Identify one moment of discomfort each day: stressful conversation, physical strain, or difficult tasks, push through without complaint, record reflections on emotional, mental, and physical responses. This reinforces mental resilience and makes complaints progressively irrelevant. It's not that life becomes easier. The training is inherently challenging, but the mind, once trained, no longer collapses under pressure. Complaints naturally diminish because action, endurance, and discipline dominate thought. Whether you like it or not, this is how warriors are forged, through repeated choice, deliberate discomfort, and consistent reflection. You have now learned that mental toughness is a skill, not a trait. Complaining less, acting more, and enduring longer create a mind capable of thriving under pressure. Daily habits, micro-challenges, endurance journaling, one more rep principle, controlled exposure, and mental push daily convert ordinary experiences into deliberate training. Complaints no longer control you. Your mind directs your energy, focus, and tragic. Chapter 8. Use adversity as a weapon. Adversity is not your enemy. It is not a random punishment of the universe. Far from being an obstacle, it is ammunition, a force you can harness to build strength, sharpen skill, and accelerate your path to success. The real question is not whether problems will appear, they will, constantly, but whether you will allow them to dominate you or whether you will weaponize them. Whether you like it or not, the ability to turn setbacks into leverage is the defining characteristic of those who thrive versus those who merely survive. It's easy to say, "Why me? This is unfair," but harder to recognize that life is inherently indifferent. Complaints about hardship are pointless. What we need is not lamentation, but rather action guided by perspective. No one can deny that rejection, loss, or failure feels terrible, but what's often overlooked is that these moments are raw material for mastery. Far from being a curse, adversity is a catalyst. Consider J.K. Rowling. Before Harry Potter became a global phenomenon, her manuscript was rejected repeatedly by publishers. Rowling could have given up. She could have allowed each no to crush her resolve. Instead, she reframed rejection as feedback, a challenge to refine her craft and push harder. Her adversity became the fuel that propelled one of the most successful literary franchises in history. This principle is universal. Obstacles are not stop signs. They are tools. Daily habit number 1, problem reframing. Identify a recent setback or challenge. Ask yourself, how can this difficulty teach me? How can I use it to my advantage? Write down at least one actionable step you can take that converts the problem into progress. This habit trains your mind to see adversity not as paralysis, but as leverage. It's not that adversity disappears when we ignore it. It is that our response transforms. Marcus Aurelius, in Meditations, wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." Notice the distinction. The obstacle itself does not dictate your outcome, your response does. The more important issue is not the difficulty, but how you internalize and act upon it. Real-world example. Thomas Edison failed thousands of times while inventing the light bulb. Each failure was recorded, analyzed, and applied to the next attempt. He famously said, "I have not failed. I've just found 1,000 ways that won't work." Edison's mindset exemplifies a warrior-like approach to adversity. Treat every setback as a step forward in disguise. Complaining is irrelevant. Action is decisive. Daily habit number 2, adversity journaling. Maintain a daily log of challenges faced for each. Write what happened, how it affected you, and how you can leverage it for growth. Review weekly to identify patterns and recurring lessons. This habit ensures that adversity becomes a training ground for skill, discipline, and mental fortitude rather than a source of complaint or despair. It's easy to misinterpret adversity as a sign of inadequacy, but in reality, it is a neutral force waiting to be applied. Sun Tzu wrote in The Art of War, "In the midst of chaos, there is also opportunity." The most successful people do not avoid chaos, they exploit it. Obstacles are the raw material from which mastery is forged. Complaints, fear, and hesitation squander the potential hidden within each challenge. Daily habit number 3, action leverage. When confronted with a problem, immediately identify one small, actionable step to turn it to your advantage, execute it within 24 hours without waiting for perfect conditions, reflect afterward. I converted challenge into progress. This habit transforms inertia and frustration into forward momentum, training your mind to weaponize adversity consistently. It's not that challenges are inherently desirable, they are inherently unavoidable. The real skill is in seeing them as opportunities. Remember how Malcolm X transformed his life from hardship and oppression into a fearless voice for dignity, urging people to rise with discipline, clarity, and self-respect. This is the core of using adversity as a weapon. Complaints waste energy. Action and reflection amplify it. Problems, when properly framed, teach resilience, strategy, and creative problem-solving. Real-world example. War veterans returning to civilian life often face trauma, loss, and disorientation. Some succumb to these adversities, while others leverage their experiences into leadership, entrepreneurship, and mentorship. The same stimulus, a profound challenge, produces diametrically opposed outcomes depending on mindset and applied action. Far from being a passive victim, the individual who weaponizes adversity converts suffering into skill. It's easy to think that overcoming adversity requires monumental effort, but in reality, consistent small habits build the capacity to harness setbacks as fuel. Albert Ellis, the founder of rational emotive behavior therapy, emphasized, "It is not events themselves that disturb people, but the beliefs they hold about them." The discipline of reframing and acting on adversity converts belief into competence, fear into confidence, and obstacles into leverage. Daily habit number 4, flip the obstacle exercise. Take one persistent challenge each week. Write a list of 3 ways it can be used to advance your goals. Commit to executing at least one of these strategies within 7 days. This practice reinforces the neural habit of seeing adversity as functional, actionable, and growth-oriented rather than debilitating. It's not that life becomes easier when we employ this mindset. It doesn't. It's that your mental, emotional, and strategic response becomes stronger than the obstacle itself. Complaints diminish because energy is redirected to leverage, analysis, and execution. You might think adversity is a punishment, but in reality, it is one of the most powerful tools for building mastery, focus, and resilience. Not only does this mindset reduce frustration, but it also accelerates personal growth. Daily reflection, immediate action, and strategic use of obstacles compound into long-term success. Far from being random setbacks, each difficulty becomes a brick in the foundation of unstoppable momentum. You have now learned that adversity is not a curse, it is a weapon. Daily habits, problem reframing, adversity journaling, action leverage, and the flip the obstacle exercise convert setbacks into growth, pain into skill, and frustration into forward momentum. Complaints are irrelevant. Mastery is actionable. Chapter 9. The Art of Letting Go. Obsessing over what's lost is a silent form of self-abuse. Whether it's a failed relationship, a lost opportunity, or a defeat on the field of life, clinging to what cannot be changed drains your energy, clouds judgment, and stifles growth. The real question is not why bad things happen, but how long you allow them to occupy your mind. Holding on is active sabotage. The ability to release, learn, and redirect is not optional, it is essential. It's easy to say, "I'll move on tomorrow," but harder to actually do it. Not because letting go is inherently difficult, but because the mind resists change. What we need is not avoidance, but rather disciplined redirection. Complaints, regrets, and rumination are all forms of wasted energy. The more important issue is not the loss itself, but what you do with the space it occupies in your mind. Consider elite athletes. Those who lose championships often face a crossroads. They can linger in regret, reliving mistakes and fueling bitterness, or they can analyze, adjust, and come back stronger. Michael Jordan famously said, "I've missed more than 9,000 shots in my career. I've lost almost 300 games. 26 times I've been trusted to take the game-winning shot and missed. I've failed over and over and over again in my life. And that is why I succeed." Notice the mindset. Loss is not a dead end. It is data. It is feedback. It is raw material for mastery. Far from being a source of despair, letting go creates room for growth, focus, and resilience. Daily habit number 1, the mental cleanse. Each evening, identify one negative thought, grievance, or regret from a day. Take 60 seconds to consciously acknowledge it. This is done. I release it. Redirect your focus to a productive or positive action for tomorrow. This habit trains the mind to stop recycling loss and regret, converting energy into forward motion rather than wasted rumination. It's not that loss disappears when we ignore it, it is that our response transforms. Marcus Aurelius wrote in Meditations, "Receive without pride, let go without attachment." The wisdom is clear. The event itself is neutral. The harm comes from clinging. The real question is not how to avoid loss, but how to respond to it without poisoning your present. Real-world example, Jurgen Klopp, manager of Liverpool FC, endured years of near misses in major tournaments. Each defeat could have fostered bitterness, but instead, he applied lessons from loss, refined his strategies, and led Liverpool to Champions League and Premier League triumphs. Far from being passive, letting go was active. Energy once spent on regret was redirected into preparation and discipline. Daily habit number 2, loss analysis with action. When something goes wrong, write down the facts of what occurred, identify one lesson or improvement you can apply next time, immediately plan one actionable step to implement that lesson. This habit transforms loss into insight, grief into strategy, and regret into actionable growth. It's easy to assume that letting go means forgetting or ignoring the past, but in reality, it is far more sophisticated. Letting go is not erasure, it is transformation. Not because you ignore your emotions, but because you refuse to let them control your decisions. Consider how Louis Farrakhan stood firm in the face of relentless criticism and opposition, continuing to lead and advocate for empowerment, unity, and self-determination for his community. This is the essence of letting go, redirecting your energy from lamentation to mastery. Daily habit number 3, energy redirection ritual. Whenever a negative thought arises, consciously ask, is this thought serving my growth or draining my energy? If it is draining, visualize placing it into a box and setting it aside. Replace it with a constructive action or goal-oriented thought immediately. This habit reinforces control over your attention, ensuring that mental energy is invested in progress rather than regret. It's not that holding on feels harmless. Far from it. Neuroscience shows that repetitive negative thinking activates stress pathways, reduces focus, and impairs decision-making. Complaints, regrets, and obsessions over loss literally weaken the mind. Just as athletes condition their bodies, your mental resilience must be trained. Daily practice of release and redirection rewires neural pathways to favor growth, focus, and resilience. Real-world example, Serena Williams lost multiple Grand Slam finals early in her career. Each defeat could have been a source of despair, but she analyzed mistakes, adjusted strategy, and came back with stronger mental and physical preparation. The act of letting go of past errors, self-blame, and frustration was central to her legendary success. Far from being easy, it was a disciplined habit. Not only does letting go reduce mental clutter, but it also accelerates your capacity for focus and creativity. Seneca, in Letters from a Stoic, reminds us, "He is most powerful who has himself in his own power." The power to release and redirect is not external. It resides entirely in your mind. Complaints, regrets, and obsessive thinking diminish only when conscious discipline takes over. Daily habit number 4, 1-minute daily reset. At a set time each day, close your eyes and reflect. What thoughts, grievances, or regrets will I release now? Consciously let them go and shift attention to one actionable goal or positive activity. Note the improvement in focus, mood, and energy over time. This ritual reinforces daily mental hygiene, ensuring that loss and regret do not accumulate into chronic weakness or frustration. You might think letting go is passive, but in reality, it is one of the most active and transformative skills you can develop. It allows your mind to recover from setbacks quickly, focus on the present, and take decisive action toward future goals. Far from being optional, it is a prerequisite for strength, clarity, and high performance. You have now learned that obsessing over loss is a form of self-abuse. Daily habits, mental cleanse, loss analysis with action, energy redirection ritual, and the 1-minute daily reset. Train your mind to release, learn, and redirect energy consistently. Complaints, regret, and fixation on the past are replaced with clarity, focus, and actionable. Chapter 10. Never forget, it could always be worse. Perspective is the final, most powerful weapon in your mental arsenal. It isn't just comfort. It is a mechanism for courage, endurance, and relentless action. Life will continue to deliver challenges, setbacks, and moments that feel insurmountable. The real question is not why these things happen. It's how you interpret them. Perspective shapes your entire experience, your resilience, and your potential for achievement. Complaining, self-pity, and obsession with minor misfortunes are not merely unproductive. They are self-imposed chains. It's easy to say, "At least I'm okay," but harder to truly internalize it. Not because acknowledging hardship is difficult, but because the human mind fixates on what it lacks, not what it has. What we need is not denial, but disciplined awareness. Perspective is not an abstract concept. It is the engine for unstoppable courage. Far from being a nicety, it is the distinguishing factor between those who thrive despite difficulty and those crushed beneath it. Consider individuals who have endured extreme hardship yet achieved extraordinary impact. Consider how Julian Assange, the founder of WikiLeaks, exposed global injustices despite immense personal risk, proving that one individual's commitment to truth can shake entire systems of power. Far from being victims of circumstance, these individuals transformed adversity into agency, creating light where darkness prevailed. Daily habit number 1. The daily perspective check. Each morning, identify one aspect of your life you might otherwise take for granted. Ask yourself, could it be worse? What opportunities are embedded in this situation? Write down one action step to leverage this perspective for growth today. This habit trains your mind to anchor in gratitude and realism simultaneously, creating a lens that magnifies opportunity rather than limitation. It's not that life becomes easier with this mindset. It doesn't. It's that your mental and emotional capacity expands. Complaints shrink because your framework of reference grows. Just as the diamond forms under pressure, courage, clarity, and creativity emerge under the pressure of perspective. The more important issue is not comfort, it is strength. Real-world example. Survivors of natural disasters often face unimaginable loss, homes, possessions, even loved ones. Yet many emerge to rebuild, lead communities, and create lasting impact. Take the story of Dr. Rickards, who works with children in Ethiopia suffering from spinal diseases and extreme poverty. He has witnessed trauma daily, yet channels every hardship into action, healing, and hope. Perspective allows him to focus on what he can control rather than obsess on what he cannot. Far from being overwhelmed, he is empowered. Daily habit number 2, reframe misfortune as opportunity. Whenever a challenge or setback occurs, pause and ask, what can I learn? How can I use this? Write one positive reframing statement and commit to one actionable step based on it. Review weekly to reinforce the habit of turning perceived misfortune into leverage. This practice converts energy spent on frustration into strategic action, ensuring that adversity catalyzes growth rather than stagnation. It's easy to feel sorry for oneself when life is difficult, but in reality, perspective reorients the mind toward opportunity, resilience, and action. Marcus Aurelius advised, begin each day by telling yourself, today I shall meet with interference, ingratitude, insolence, disloyalty, ill will, and selfishness, and I shall remain unshaken. Not because the interference disappears, but because perspective equips you to endure, adapt, and act. Complaints and whining are distractions from the ultimate task, making life a forge for your character and purpose. Daily habit number 3, adversity inventory. Once a week, list all challenges faced over the past 7 days. Next to each, note how it could have been worse and one insight or action derived from it. Reflect on the cumulative strength and resilience you have built. This habit magnifies gratitude, sharpens focus, and transforms minor hardships into evidence of your growing capacity. Real-world example. Nick Vujicic was born without arms or legs. Far from surrendering to despair, he leveraged perspective to become a global motivational speaker, author, and philanthropist. Far from a story of victimhood, his life demonstrates the principle. When you recognize that your situation could always be worse, you stop wasting energy on trivial complaints and start channeling it into mastery, impact, and purpose. It's not that life's difficulties vanish with perspective, it's that their power over you diminishes. Complaints fade because they are measured against reality rather than perception alone. Not because hardship is reduced, but because your mental discipline has increased. Far from being a passive skill, perspective is active, deliberate, and trainable. No one can deny that suffering, misfortune, and disappointment are universal. But what's often overlooked is that the mind's response determines the outcome. Daily attention to perspective transforms ordinary endurance into extraordinary resilience. It is a discipline of observation, gratitude, and strategic action. You might think comfort drives courage, but in reality, perspective does. You might think ease creates fortitude, but in reality, understanding that it could always be worse produces unstoppable momentum. Daily habit number 4. The it could be worse reflection. At the end of each day, review challenges encountered and consciously ask, could this situation be worse? Ow! Write one line on what you can do tomorrow to leverage this insight. Observe the shift in your mindset over time, less complaint, more decisiveness, more action. This habit trains your mind to operate above trivial frustration and approach life with clarity, courage, and relentless focus. Remember, life's pressure reveals diamonds. Complaints, whining, and passive frustration are wasted energy. The real question is not how to avoid challenges, but how to harness them. Far from being powerless, those who internalize perspective wield life itself as a forge for mastery. Every challenge, every setback, every difficulty becomes an opportunity for resilience, strength, and purposeful action. You have now learned that perspective is not comfort, it is a catalyst. Daily habits, daily perspective check, reframe misfortune as opportunity, adversity inventory, and the it could be worse reflection, transform challenge into leverage and complaint into action. Life's pressure will always exist. The choice is whether it crushes you or creates diamonds. Stop complaining.